What's going on, lifers? Welcome to another episode of Sick, Scared, and Stupid. I'm your host, Jake Thomas, and today's guest comes to us by way of the Kerrville, Texas Hill Country. She has for over 30 years herself been invested in the health, wellness, and overall fitness space as a trainer, as a gym owner, a small business owner, a mother, a homesteader, a homeschooler, someone who's been a friend, as well as a provider in the community here within the Hill Country, and has won multiple awards over the last years. I'll let her tell you more about that, for being the best overall wellness space in the area, as well as being the area's top trainer. She's my good friend, better known as the Phoenix of Wellness at the Phoenix Wellness Center in Kerrville, Texas, Miss Wendy Jones. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's good to finally get to sit down with you and do this.
Yeah.
So Wendy and I know each other through the community, Kerrville, here in Texas. My mother was actually a client of Wendy's, coming here first before I started procuring into Wendy's services and everything that she's got here at the Phoenix Wellness Center, particularly now with contrast therapy. You guys know that I love sauna and the cold plunge. She's got a gymnastics room, Pilates, reformers, and obviously standard gym equipment as well. So it's really like an all-encompassing place that doesn't really exist in the area anywhere else. So I'm here a lot. You guys see in my videos me spending time here, hanging out here. Well, this is the place, this is the lady, and I wanted to bring her on today to talk to you guys about not just her story as a business owner, a gym owner, but as a mother, as a homeschooler, as a single parent, and as a Lyme disease patient living with Lyme. What is that like, and what does it entail, and what your journey's been like as far as in trying to deal with it and handle it? So I'd say first, what got you into this business 30 years ago or 31 years ago?
Oh gosh, from the time I was a kid, I loved gymnastics. My mom was actually an aerobics instructor in the small town I grew up in, so cool. I can always remember her, the Jane Fonda days and the leotards and the leg warm. I just thought it was so cool.
Coolest clothes ever.
Oh yeah, and I remember getting on the floor with my mom doing the Jane Fonda work. I can still remember that workout, like the choreography, and I don't know, I just always thought it was cool, but I wonder sometimes now, when I was young like that, if I knew that it made me feel better. I don't know, I just had to be moving all the time. And in my bedroom as a little girl with my little jump rope, listening to Olivia Newton-John, Let's Get Physical. This is a funny story. She sweats in that video, and I could never sweat as a kid. So I would get Vaseline and put it on my face so it would make it look like I was sweating. Okay. And yeah, that's how far back fitness goes. And like the summer before my senior year of high school is when step aerobics became a big thing. So the cheerleader in me loved that, because it was 8-count choreography and music, and I could get in front of a crowd of people, put my mic on, have my step, and it was just a blast. I just loved it. I could not get enough of it. So I actually got my first fitness certification that summer before my senior year. I was 17, and I've just always done it. I never thought about doing any other career, or I wanted to be more than an aerobics instructor. My goal was to be a presenter. So after I got my 4-year degree, I went to school for exercise sports science. So after I obtained that degree, I was able to work as a presenter for AFA. It's now NASM. But they sent me all over the country certifying trainers, and I got to be, the woman at the podium teaching, which I really liked.
Yeah.
And it meant something to me that every time I was usually at universities or hospitals or places that had gyms, but so many people would come to me and say, I want to do what you do. I want to own a gym. And I just thought, oh my gosh, like, this is cool. This is like a cool thing. And there's people that want to do what I do. And also, once I had kids, it just allowed me a schedule and a life where I could take them with me. And, they grew up in a gym. My daughter works here with me now. She's been in a gym her whole entire life. Yeah. So I just have so much respect for the profession, because it enabled me to do what I did. I also coached children and had, gymnastics and competitive cheer teams that I coached. And as my daughter got involved in that competition. So it was, like, looking back on it now, it's just been the most fun, rewarding. I get to help a lot of people and have my kids with me. It was the perfect career for me. Yeah. I'm coming up on 32 years. 32. Dang.
That's
all I've ever done. Yeah.
I feel like everybody knows you around here too.
I've been here in Kerrville for, since 2009. Wow. So by now it feels like home.
I know, but like all the awards and the banners, like I see, top this, number one that, like when did that all start?
So the
Like
newspaper here puts out these ballads every year, and I've been fortunate to win Best Personal Trainer and Best Gym several times. This year, I just found out recently that I won for Best Wellness Center because I've rebranded into a wellness center. So those accolades come with, I fully believe that being in this business and helping people feel better. I don't train a lot of people that are bodybuilders or they're wanting to be on the cover of a magazine or something like that. I deal with people who have heart disease and diabetes and Parkinson's and chronic illness and autoimmune. And I've just because I've been in the field for so long, I think I've earned those credentials of I know how to deal with those people. Bring Wendy the sick people and she'll make them feel better. And for years, I was kind of a fraud pretending to be the healthy, fit girl,
Ooh, and this is juicy.
I was very sick myself along the way, all those years of raising the kids and owning a gym, and I just faked it. But I was so busy all the time, especially homeschooling and all the things that I did. It's not like I ever sat around and just thought about, oh my gosh, I'm such a fraud. If people only knew how sick I was. It never really was a thought to me. Every day was just get through the day, do what you have to do, make everybody happy, get everybody better, and don't think about it. But as I sit here today, when I look back, I really do feel like I was a fraud trying to teach people how to be healthy and be fit when I wasn't.
How so? Like what made you feel fraudulent?
I was always sick for the last 20 or so years, and it started in pregnancy for me. Like I thought I was the step aerobics instructor. I thought that I would get pregnant and my water would break during a step aerobics class and I'd run have the baby real quick and everything would be fine. And that's when I had 3 kids in a 4-year time span, horrible pregnancies. One was an emergency C-section. My blood pressure would go so high that they thought I was going to have a stroke. So normally when that happens, you have preeclampsia. Well, I never had preeclampsia. I just had the high blood. So I had to be on bed rest during all 3 of those. And it was just, that was the first time anything health-wise had ever happened to me. I had always been the healthy, fit girl. And then following the kids, I assumed after I had my last baby that my blood pressure was, I didn't check my blood pressure every day. I thought once pregnancy was over, I was fine. And I was literally standing at a podium one day in San Marcos, Texas, giving a presentation to a corporation on the benefits of exercise for stress reduction. That was my topic. I'm standing at a podium speaking to a bunch of people, and all of a sudden I knew words were coming out of my mouth, but it was all jumbled in my brain, and I was like, what is going? Next thing I know, I'm at the emergency room with just stroke level hypertension. And every time I would end up in the hospital, it would be like, well, you're not obese, you exercise, I don't know, we don't know what's wrong with you. That time it was a spinal tap, it was,
oh, wow.
It was horrible. And everybody's like, I don't know, you're so fit, you're so healthy,
right.
we can't make it make sense. After that, I lived on like, I educated people on how to not get high blood pressure, how to not get diabetes. I did all the right things. So after that, I lived on nuts, seeds, and berries for a year trying to just bring my blood pressure down, and I couldn't do it. I could not do it. So I was preaching one thing, trying to practice that thing, and it would not work for me. And then it was just, horrible pain one night, couldn't figure it out, went to the hospital. They cannot figure out what's wrong with me. They said we can do exploratory surgery, and I was like, no way. I went back home. The pain got it was like abdominal pain. Got so bad, I went back to that hospital that same night, and I said, explore, find it, figure out what hurts so bad and get it out of me. So, I had to sign all the waivers of just like, open me up and find it and fix it. And my gallbladder was horribly infected. I had cancer in my appendix, and I had a hernia that they repaired. Just all these random things
that you had no idea about.
No idea. I think that came with the pregnancies, but just the weirdest things over the years, and nothing ever made sense. And then kidney stones every couple years I was having to have the surgery for that because they're so big. So here I am, the fitness girl, teaching people how to be healthy, and I had these things going on in the background that I didn't want anybody to know about. And then in the more recent years, it was, kidney failure, a kidney infection that turned me completely, I was extreme sepsis. They didn't think I was going to survive that day. And it's just been one thing after the next. And like that time, I left the hospital with a PICC line in my arm.
Wow.
And I went straight to the gym from the hospital. Like I had to just get back to work. You've got people counting on you.
Right.
It was always fight or flight, and never, don't let the kids know how sick I am, and don't let my clients know what's going on. And I just worked. I just went to the gym every day, and I just worked. And then last year got the Lyme disease diagnosis, which kind of makes a lot of that stuff make sense. Mm-hmm. It's a tick-borne illness that I just didn't know that I had.
And it took how many years before that was you said last year that you got the diagnosis. Mm-hmm. And how many years had you been dealing with this and, let's say, hiding it, and ups and downs with health, the hypertension, the issues with the gallbladder, and kidneys and appendix?
It goes back to the pregnancies, and my kids are 23, 22, and 20. So I always say about 20 years.
Wow.
So when I went into treatment for Lyme disease, you have to do these extensive health questionnaires and your background and all that. So that's pretty much what I was told, is that it probably goes back to a tick bite from many, many years ago. And kind of makes all that make sense.
God, you talk about health questionnaires and backgrounds. What was yours like? What were you raised around? What did you grow up with? Eating and living.
Very much like nutrition wise, old fashioned, meat and potatoes type of diet. All through high school, I can just remember living on. I was an athlete, and always cheer practice and go. And I can always remember having Dr. Pepper, Snickers, and Sonic. I would go to Sonic after school and get cheese tater tots and an ocean water. Almost daily. And I was also raised very Western medicine. Whatever the doctor says, that's what you do. You don't question it. You just take the medicine. You just do what the doctor says.
Got it.
So it was when I got into college where I started learning about nutrition, and totally took the path. This is back when the China Study, the book, had come out. T. Colin Campbell was huge about veganism. All I was hearing about was how Dr. Esselstyn was curing people of heart disease with a vegan diet. The big forks over knives movement and all that. So I got completely wrapped up in that when my kids were little. And I just thought, I'm going to do it my way. And my parents, everybody thought I had completely lost my mind. I'm going vegan. My kids aren't going to be allowed to have milk. We're going to move way out into the country, and I'm going to homeschool them. We did a little bout with school when the kids were little, and I hated it. And I knew that I could not let my kids grow up in the school system. So now my dad had been like vice president of the school board in my town. So I just... A
little bit of family pressure.
Yeah. It was like my brain just swapped everything. Everything I had ever learned was wrong, and I was going to do it my way, and I didn't care what people thought. And it also came in the form of clients, because when you're a trainer... all those days where I trained people, 8, 9, 10 hours a day, I learned something from every single one of those people.
Sure.
And even though I was the trainer, they're coming to me for my knowledge. The knowledge that I got from my clients, like one of which was a former superintendent of a school, and she told me, she said, Wendy, don't ever let your kids go to public school. They are intentionally dumbing down these kids. And I'm like, what is this lady? This lady is,
crazy.
Right. Oh my God, where would she get that? And then I read a book called The Intentional Dumbing Down of America. And I'm like, oh my God, this lady was right. And this lady, I'll never forget her, because she was completely off grid. She was a massage therapist, and she invited me over for a massage one day. Off grid. She lived in a cabin. She was completely off grid. Had a garden. She grew her own food. I'd never seen anything like it. I was just like, oh my God, she's not crazy. This lady knows what she's doing. So it was people, and she's just one of, I mean, I could tell 100 stories of the clients that I trained that taught me that there was another way, not just the way I had grown up. No complaints about the way I grew up. I loved my childhood. I just, got to college and realized maybe some of it's not. And when you grow up in a family that's, Western medicine and very pro-government, and we have to trust our government, and it's quite the change when you start to develop your own brain and meet other people outside of your family and think, oh my gosh, there are cures for cancer. I just watched one of my clients cure herself of stage 4 breast cancer, and she did it with hyperbaric oxygen therapy and colonics and juicing, organic. That she had this regimen that she was on. She never saw a doctor, and she worked out with me at the gym twice a week, and I watched her cure her body of stage 4 breast cancer.
It's amazing.
And all I had ever been taught is there's no cure.
Right.
So in those college years, I learned a lot. And I figured out what kind of mom I wanted to be, and just what I thought was better for my kids.
What was that like, declaring veganism? Like how did your you said your family all thought you were crazy, but like what was that like taking that on at the time? What was it like as far as in support in the world and society? Was it weird? Was it affordable? Was it convenient? And then obviously what was that like doing that with your kids?
It was weird. People thought it was weird as homeschool. I mean, now homeschool's common.
Much more.
20 years ago, I was a weirdo for doing that. So I think people just kind of thought
it goes
she's
in line
weird.
with the homeschool. Like, of course, she's a vegan, and they homeschool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I will also say that a lot of my clients and people that trusted me with their health, they just got right on board with me.
Yeah,
I mean,
if Wendy's doing it,
if that's what Wendy suggests, then that's where I feel now, looking back, a little guilt.
Got it.
But it's not like I just saw a commercial on TV and decided to be vegan. I read the books. I studied. It made sense to me at the time. Why would we drink milk from a cow? We don't drink milk from a giraffe. All those little taglines that they use. I just bought right into it. I was like, that's so... I remember arguing with my kid's pediatrician about, I breastfed them for a year, and then I didn't put them on milk, and he just thought that was insane. How could I not? And I just said, well, I don't know. From what I've read, it causes ear infections, and this is why kids are on antibiotics all the time, and I just don't want that for my kids. So it's not like I just jumped into veganism like it was trendy or something.
Right.
It wasn't. I just read. I read the research. I knew the doctors, and I just thought it was the right thing to do.
How did that end up? Or I guess, what was it like? Like, how did you feel? Were you healthy? Did you feel healthy? Were your kids healthy? What was that like? I mean, that's a huge undertaking, not just for yourself, but for your family.
Yeah, I've always felt sick.
Standard, common denominator.
Normal. Kids.
So no better, no worse.
Yeah, no better, no worse. Kids were healthy, but one thing that actually was worse was the kidney stones. And
how big were we talking? Like,
I've had every size, but up to 9 millimeter.
Oh.
I make big ones. Yeah, my understanding is you can only pass them until they're 3 centimeters. I pass them all the time, but the ones I've had to have the lipotrophy, that's
9 millimeters.
Yeah. So I didn't know, and if I look back and if I added up all the urologists I saw over the years with all those kidney stones, I would say 5 doctors, 6 doctors, and no one ever told me that it was oxalates from things like spinach and almonds, which I ate every day. Every day I ate a spinach salad, and I washed it down with the almond milk protein smoothie, and I never knew that those high oxalate foods are like shards of glass going through my body, and they collect calcium, which I clearly make too much of, and that's what turns it into those kidney stones. So I think about all those doctors I sat down with, no one, I mean, I had heard you need to be on a low oxalate diet, but not
one of them red flagged it as like, hey, maybe we should change some things up here
Right.
and see if we can avoid some of this calcium oxalate.
Yeah. And one time I looked at a high oxalate diet or low oxalate diet, and I looked at like a meal plan for it, and it had things like white bread, potato, all soda was on there, and I'm like, so you choose between kidney stones and heart disease? Like it didn't make any sense to me. So, but knowing what I know now, my hope now is that I will no longer make those kidney stones.
Well, a year ago, where were you then? Like when you get the Lyme disease diagnosis. Well, let's go back. 20 years, you raised 3 kids. I've met them all. They look great. They sound great. They act great. They love you to death. So job well done there.
Thank you.
In spite of the pain, in spite of the difficulty, in spite of being sick, in spite of being here, running 8 to 10 clients a day, like you said you were doing at times. When you finally got to get that diagnosis, what was your state of health like, let's say a year ago? I mean, I've known you, for a few years now, but you hit it really well.
Yeah, anybody that spent time with me would have not known that I
didn't know.
Yeah. I mean, I guess in a way the diagnosis was not a surprise to me because I've known all along that something was wrong. I just couldn't figure out what it was. And but anybody that I trained, or even the kids, they didn't know. I learned how to get through the day with horrible headaches. I describe it as like a car sick feeling when you're not in a car. It's not dizziness, like the room's not spinning, but it's just, I have neurological Lyme, so it's the spirochetes they attacked my brain, and it can attack anything. So a lot of people, when you meet people with Lyme, some of them have it in their joints. They're usually in a wheelchair or they're bedbound. They can't leave the house anymore. So it can attack anywhere. I have like a very typical neurological case with several co-infections. Lyme never travels alone. It always brings co-infections. So I have Borrelia, Bartonella, Ehrlichia.
Oh, how lucky.
Tick-borne relapsing fever. I have a lot of things that go with Lyme.
It's a good list.
Yeah, it's a long list. So imagine getting that diagnosis, and I didn't know what I've heard of Lyme disease, but I had no idea what it was.
Yeah.
And the problem with Lyme is I had blood work done, twice a year, all these years, trying to figure out what was wrong. And then when I had the kidney failure,
ever about that.
No. And when I had the kidney failure, that's when I was like, okay, things are getting serious. Like and I would just have blood work, and I started losing a lot of weight, and I was like, I've got cancer, like what's causing that? And it's hard to get diagnosed. That's the problem. I think there's a lot of people walking around us that have Lyme disease and they don't know it because it's very hard to test. And there's like a 50-50 false negative test. So it's very hard to get a diagnosis. I'll tell you how I got mine was I had a full body ultrasound scan. It was something I offered here at the Wellness Center. And he found white matter on my brainstem, which usually means dementia, Alzheimer's. So I just started bawling when he said I had white matter. And he was like, do me a favor, before you panic, you need to get tested for Lyme, because if you have Lyme disease, it can cause this on your brain. So the next day, I have a naturopathic doctor here in the area. The next day I called her, ordered all the blood tests, and insurance does not cover Lyme disease.
Convenient.
Yeah. So it's very expensive blood work. I ordered it the next day, had everything done, and it came back very positive for Lyme and co-infections. And so I didn't know anything about it. I started reading. I went ahead and did a second test called DNA Connections, which was a urine test. I ordered it online. They sent it to me. It's a urine sample, and then you send it back. And because I thought, well, just one test, I don't know, maybe it could be wrong.
Sure.
So that test came back positive for exactly the same things. And so that's when I knew it was legit, and it kind of made everything make sense. And I started looking at treatment options. And once you have it forever. But the goal is to get into remission. I've met some people with cases. Actually, the suicide rate with Lyme disease is very high because people are in so much pain. And it's a life-changing thing. Like, people lose their spouses, their kids. People think they're crazy. It's sad. All disease is sad, but it's a chronic illness, and it's heartbreaking. So I'll always have it, but I'm definitely learning how to get into remission. I'm not there yet, but I'll get there.
So you get the news, then what do you do? You know, like, I mean, at the time, you're still a vegan, or like, how are you eating?
No,
What are
I
you
had
living
been
like?
eating. I had been eating meat. Not a lot of meat. I was eating a lot of salmon. I wasn't vegan
Or
anymore.
let's go back to that. When did you get out of veganism, and like why?
Probably I think it was like 2020 when I started eating meat again.
Me too.
Was it?
Yeah.
Cool. That was a weird year, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Talk about everything changing.
No, what happened?
Let's talk about it. I can't remember my actual reason, oddly enough. And I think that also 2020 is when I almost died with the sepsis. And I think I just came out of the hospital that time thinking, this isn't working. Like, I almost died. I realized that my kids could lose their mom. Something bad was going on, and veganism clearly hadn't fixed me.
Yeah.
And so I just slowly kind of started eating salmon.
Was it weird?
Not really.
Like, has it been a long time?
It had been 6 years. I was pretty strict on it for 6 years, but I like salmon. I missed it. It wasn't a big adjustment, but I think since 2020 is when I really just started thinking something has got to change. There's got to be a solution here, and it took me until last year to find it. But
Wow.
I just knew that I almost died. I mean, when you go through something like that, it kind of opens up a new train of thought, I think.
I'd say so.
Yeah.
So what did you start doing, you know, when you get the diagnosis, and then what are the steps? Like, basically, what does someone do when they're diagnosed with Lyme disease? Like,
At
obviously,
first-
like, what did you do? And then, like, what can someone take from that to be like, hey, this is what happened to me. This is what I would suggest or advise.
Yeah. At first, I kind of made a joke out of it, honestly, because I just thought it wasn't that big of a deal. Because I can remember me and Addie, when I told the kids, I don't know, I just played it off like it was no big deal. But like, okay, now I know what I've got, so maybe now I can get better, or I can. But I would I started blaming everything on Lyme disease, just kind of in a joking way. Like, if I stubbed my toe, I'd be like, damn, Lyme disease, you know, and I just laughed about it a lot. I don't know. I knew that I needed.
I like that.
I don't know why that was my
sadisticness
reaction.
of it.
Yeah, just
Cynicism, I should say.
yeah,
That's
just
good.
everything just became about Lyme disease, and I don't know. For me, I was also kind of becoming an empty nester at the same time with my kids being grown, and I was just in a big transition period. And I knew I wanted to go to treatment. I knew I wanted to attack it, because that's what I do. I wasn't going to just get a diagnosis and then lay around and cry about it. Like, I knew that I was going to do something about it, and called someone here locally that I knew had it, and she had been to treatment, and I got advice from her, and then decided to go to Scottsdale and
What was in
try to get some
Scottsdale?
help. So there's a place called WENDE in Scottsdale, and they treat cancer and Lyme disease, and that's it. And it's a really cool unipathic option. Like, antibiotics had saved my life twice with all the kidney stuff. And so I wasn't against antibiotics in this case, but I knew that I didn't want that to be my only avenue.
Yeah.
And so that's what I liked about this place was that, I mean, you get a port, you get a port, not like a cancer one, but like a dialysis one. So they're going in and out. It had 2 valves on it. And so I got massive amounts of antibiotics, but also a lot of, you know, herbal remedies and supplements. And it wasn't all antibiotics. It was a lot of different things. And I just had really high hopes. When I got out there and saw the people with Lyme disease, and this is kind of like a last stop for most people.
Yeah.
Stage 4 cancer, horrible Lyme disease. And I almost felt guilty about being there, because I'm walking and functioning, you know, and these people were way sicker than me, just way sicker. It was just heartbreaking. And then at the end, I was out there for a little over 2 months, and it ended with me getting a blood clot in my neck, and that was scary. It was caused by the port. But there was one day out there, they do a protocol called apheresis, where you're just sitting in a chair like this, and you're connected to this machine, but it takes out 100%, it filters 100% of your blood, a little bit at a time. and the toxins and spirochetes and all the bad stuff comes out into this little bag, kind of clumps up. It's kind of cool. But the day I was supposed to have 2 of those while I was there, and the first one, I sat in that chair and I thought something is wrong. I just didn't think I was going to leave that chair that day. I had a really bad feeling. I just felt like my body was just shutting down. Well, come to find out, I had a blood clot. And so the day I found that out, I remember my doctor, Dr. Ware, sitting right here in front of me, and I'm just sitting and I'm trying not to cry. And I said, I'm done. I've had enough. Get this thing out of me. I'm done. I'm not doing another one of those treatments. Today's my last day. Today's my last day. And she said, I understand. And I packed up and left. I was just done with it. I just didn't, it was not my solution.
What do they, say to something like that? Like, I mean, obviously they can't make you stay.
Yeah.
But like, are they trying to say, no, you got more to do, or?
No, and I was at the end. I was in my last week. I was just supposed to have one more of those.
And this was how long you were there for?
2 months.
2 months.
8 weeks.
8 weeks.
Yeah. And the blood clot happens to a small percentage of people due to but when someone tells you have a blood clot in your neck, and they kind of act like it was no big deal, like we just have to get the port out, you got to go on a blood thinner until it go, like it's just kind of like no big deal. Well, I've heard all my life of people dying with blood clots.
Yeah, same.
I was like, I kind of felt like it was just being no big deal. Well, it was a really big deal to me.
Yeah.
And it was just another example of how medically things don't ever go right for me. A kidney infection will turn into sepsis for me.
Yeah.
Like I'm not like everybody else. My body doesn't do things the same way. So, oh my God, I couldn't get out of there fast enough. So I came home on a blood thinner, and I had my neck ultrasounded several times until I knew the blood clot was gone. And so that was back in March when I came home.
Yep.
And then since then, it's just been a matter of trying, a lot. I do IVs twice a week. I do acupuncture now. I exercise more now because I feel better, and the carnivore diet. So I've just tried. I'm just at the point now where I'm not doing medicine. I'm not doing any supplements. I do get the IVs, but I'm just trying to get better with what I put in my body, which we all know is the most important thing.
Yeah.
What we put in our bodies is the most important thing.
Yeah.
It affects our health the most. I can't exercise this stuff out of me, or I would.
Yeah. Oh, you'd love to.
I would love to.
Yeah.
That'd be a great solution.
I remember, when I started coming here pretty regularly, and you were going through those things, before you went to Arizona, and we were talking, and it's a tough position as a friend and just an observer to see someone that's doing all this. And then the more I learned about you, and the more you were telling me, and the more I just heard through scuttlebutt and around the campfire, like, wait, she's been doing that for how long? And like, this has been going on. And I would talk to this person, that person, or hear it from you, and I'm just like, in my mind, I'm like, well, has anybody thought about this, or like, has anybody offered that to her? And it's like, who am I to say anything to anybody? Number one, like, I don't know where you're coming from, or what you've had to go through and endure up to this point, and what you've invested your time in, your money, your life, your belief. All I know is what I see and what I perceive. But I'm like, man, like, I feel like there's something missing there, or like, so she could try something else, and I don't know if these are the right things, or if that's necessarily the right answer. But you, or anyone like that, has such a tight hold on all of what you've had to do and go through, that it's impossible to just, hey, let me see that.
Yeah.
No. It's a very closely kept little book of secrets. Not that they're secrets, but it's like, it's your work. It's like, you don't know what I've had to go through to write these pages, to pen this material. I've had to endure and suffer and wonder and be afraid. And I'm like, let me just take a look at it. Let me just see that. Basically trying to, like, how do you disarm someone like this with possibly offering a different suggestion? That's definitely going to be radical to them. Like, oh God, she was a vegan, I'm going to be talking to her about possibly a carnivore diet. Where does that even fit in? And like, to me, it was like these little probing kind of interactions between us over this, I guess it was about a year, right? Of just listening, and occasionally, okay, oh cool, what are you doing? And like, okay, and then being around you, You know, just to see me, like, what's he doing? What's he eating? How's he feel? What's he doing? Like, consistency.
Yeah.
Because it can't just, no matter, and you know this, no matter how good you feel, and no matter how bad you want it for someone else, a client, the people you talked about, you can't just run it down their throats.
Yeah.
It has to be at the right time for them. They have to be in the method, the right mindset to receive. They have to want to do that. You work with a sober living house. The guys don't get sober unless that's what they want to do. They have to really want to be there. It doesn't matter how bad their families, how bad their wives, their kids, their churches. It doesn't matter. If that's not what they really want to do, they're not going to do it. It's an absolute conscious choice.
Yeah.
Same thing here. Like, it doesn't matter how bad I like it or what I think it to be beneficial or how many people I might have seen it help their healths. If it's not something that somebody's not ready for, like, you can't just like smash it on them. So when you came back from Arizona, I remember like seeing you how defeated you seemed. You know, it was just another, like, I thought this was going to be it. You know, the amount of money you put into that, which was a lot. The time, 2 months being there, having to like be away from here, your business, your children, having to leave it in their hands, so to speak, and say, you know, I need to go do this because I'm not doing this. I'm not going on a fucking cruise.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to the desert on a Hail Mary.
Yeah.
And then to come back and essentially come back early because you weren't feeling, you know, satisfied with the results. I was like, man, I know she's got to be hurting. So what was it like? Were you just that broken down, you know, that you said, hit me with it, sure.
Yeah.
You know, like what is that? Is that what you know?
Yeah, kind of. You handled me really well by dangling the carrot, we like to say, and just every time you'd see me, you would just kind of work it into the conversation. And I can't remember now what it was, but there was something I wanted to finish, or I can't remember now exactly what it was. I blame it on Lyme brain. My thoughts are so random, but I can't remember exactly what it was, but there was something I was trying or wanting to try or something, and I thought once I finish that, then I will try carnivore. I can't remember what it was. But I kind of knew I was going to try it, but I wasn't there yet. But I'm the kind of person that I have to make up my mind, and then once I do, and I told you this in the beginning, there's nothing I won't do for my health, and I mean it, and I've got very strong willpower. I don't know, God blessed me with that capability, almost like like a Marine or something. Like I'm not just a fragile little woman. Yeah. I'm not a fragile little mom who gets scared and won't do hard things. I like to do hard things. Bring me the hard things. So I had to get to that point where I was ready. Yeah. And then I wanted to fully commit. And so what I started with was a 30-day, I'll do this for 30 days. And what happened instantly, like on day one, was that I didn't have a headache. And that was the first time in a real long time. So that's why, I think I would have done the 30 days no matter what. I would have stuck with it. But it was the fact that each day 2, I didn't have a headache. Day 3, I didn't have a headache.
And preceding that, how many days or years or how much time? Like this was daily, right? Oh,
headaches were, and they never took me out. I never stayed in bed all day. I still worked, but it was, you know the feeling when you're getting a headache and you're like, oh, my head hurts. I'm gonna go ahead and take some ibuprofen. You know, it was those kind of headaches, just daily for years and years and years. The amount of ibuprofen I've taken over the years is
you should have gotten stock in the company.
Yes, which could have led to the kidney failure maybe, but. Anyway, daily, and I still have symptoms. I have muscle twitching. I still have the car sick feeling quite a bit. I've just kind of started having some neuropathy in my hands and feet. So I'm still dealing with all these things, but just not having a headache on top of that. Because before it was the headache and the brain, my brain would just feel like heavy. Like I noticed I always had to, if I was talking to somebody, I'd always be like resting my head, or when I drive, it was just like a heavy feeling, and like I guess inflammation in the brain. It's just the feeling of all that is really hard to describe. But having all that plus a headache every day was tough. So just getting the headache to stop. Like if I could have said, okay, Mr. Carnivore, I need this. If I could pick one thing for you to fix for me, it would have been the headaches. I can handle the muscles twitching and some of the other stuff if I just don't have the headache, which has, I've had 3 headaches since starting, which is, I think I'm on day 100 and something now. And they've all been on days that it rained, which is very telling of spirochetes in my brain and barometric pressure. But because it got rid of those headaches and just, I mean, from the beginning, it made it pretty easy for me to want to continue.
Sure.
Because of that saying, nothing tastes as good as not having a headache feels. That's so true. And like I've told you before, I was at the point too where if someone said, you have to eat 75 oranges every single day to feel better, I would have.
Yeah.
If someone had said, you need to be vegan again, I would have, just give me the right reasons and I would have done that too. Yeah. I was just at a place where I just wanted to feel better. I did.
And that's another place for you that you had to go through this fraudulent feeling of like, wait a minute, I coached people, I told people, I advised people, I counseled people totally opposite to this, and now I'm about to do this. Like, I know that was that had to be tough, right?
Yeah.
Because you're thinking like, I mean, you had a juice bar here, right?
Oh yeah, we did fresh juice here, and we meal prepped vegan meals, and yeah, it does feel kind of fraudulent, but also I just have the best people here. I mean, nobody's given me a hard time about it.
No,
everybody's been very understanding and supportive, and I don't know. I think now it's just like, what's Wendy gonna do? Like, I think people like watching. Like, what's she gonna do? Okay, she's getting a cold plunge now. Now what's she gonna do?
Yeah, exactly. Tell us about that. What's that been like for you?
Well, so we started as a gym. I called it a boutique gym with nice equipment and Pilates equipment. In 2020 is when I got the hyperbaric oxygen chamber here, and then I got the sauna, and then it was red light therapy, and I work mostly with sick clients here, and so I found myself really wanting to bring in wellness amenities so that we could be more than a gym. And then I had gotten the cold plunge before I left for Arizona, our horse trough one.
Yeah.
And I knew that was something I wanted to add. And I remember the first time you called me about coming here to work out, you liked the gym, but I said, oh, just so you know, next week we're putting in a cold plunge.
Oh, yeah,
and remember, you were like, okay, done.
Yeah.
I'm a member. Make me sign me up.
Yeah.
It was the cold plunge.
It's an easy sell.
Yeah, which now we have a really nice one because you helped me find it. But as far as my community goes here, I really want to provide a place where people can do all the things and just, come in feeling like crap and leave feeling better.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
And even your mother, when we took her through the other day, she was a great spokesperson talking about how good she felt. I mean, she was like giddy, like a little girl getting out of the water. That was really cool.
Yeah. She's another one that's just like, okay, what is Wendy, what are we doing? Just tell me, what are we doing? What are we doing next? And she'll try it. And my daughter works here with me too, and I want to teach her. I mean, it's as important to her as it is to me to help people. We definitely have that in our hearts, no doubt. We're a very heart-centered business. There's no doubt. But it's also being a role model for her and teaching her about her health, and I want her to do all these things too. So I just wanted to be that place that you can't find anywhere else. And I'll tell you, when I was in Arizona, I looked for a place where I could do hyperbaric oxygen therapy, red light therapy.
Here and there.
I would have had to have joined, 5 or 6 different places. And that's when I was like, okay, what we're offering here is actually as special as I think it is. Like, you can't, and I'll have people come, spend the day from San Antonio, and they'll be like, man, we can't even do this all in one place in the city. And so I'm just proud of that. I'm proud that I offer that here.
Heck yeah. What about the good times, let's say homeschooling, homesteading, learning about detoxification, detoxifying your house. Like, I know that's a big part of what you do and like what you offer now with people, with coaching too, is like, teaching parents especially how they can clean up their houses with normal household goods that are not as toxic, how to homeschool their kids, how to grow things. Like, you now have a cow, right, and a goat, and chickens and pigs too, right? Like, take us through that stuff, because that stuff I know is stuff you love, and like
Yeah.
that you found real therapeutic like relief and appreciation with passion for.
Yeah.
So like how does that fit into everything?
Yeah. So, well, when the kids and I moved out here in 2009, we are very blessed to live on a special ranch. It's a very special place to me. And so I homeschooled them. We did not have a TV in the house. They've never had video games. I mean, we didn't have any of that in the house. We were outside all the time. We planted a garden. We learned how to incubate chicks and raise chicks. We did a lot of deer processing. It was a very little house on the prairie, I call it. You know, and my kids loved it. Like at one time, my oldest son came to me. We'd been out there probably about a year, and he's like, he wanted to be like Travis on Old Yeller, because we rode horses, and he wanted to be able to get on his horse, go shoot a deer, put the deer on the back of the horse, bring it to mom to process, and then, you know, provide his family dinners. It was like my children were living in the 2000s, but they wanted to live back in the Old Yeller days.
Yeah.
And I remember Jake telling me one day, can we just get rid of like everything? Like, do we have to have a car? Can we get rid of electricity? Can we really live like they did back then? And I was like, you know, that's pushing it. But
I like what your head's at, though.
yeah, I'm like, I love that about you. But yeah, no, we're going to have electricity. But I guess because they didn't fight me on it, they loved it too.
Yeah.
And I can remember just being in the garden with them and watching them eat, you know, sugar snap peas off the vine and tomatoes. And I was milking a goat back then, and I just loved it. I loved everything about it, and I could care less if people thought it was weird or not. Me and my kids were happy.
Yeah,
like,
it's awesome.
We loved it. We loved our lifestyle, and it wasn't until they got in like high school years, and we started doing things a little different. But what we did worked for us, and I don't know that it would work for every family as far as homeschooling, but it worked for us. And I'm a very protective mom, and that's my number one piece of advice when people ask me, you know, about how I raised my kids. And my kids turned out great, and I get complimented on that all the time. And I don't think of it as good parenting. I just had great kids.
Yeah.
But the one thing I would tell parents now is you better be protective of your kids. You have to be protective of your kids. And I can remember people saying that to me early on, like, you're way too protective of them, and, you know, not letting them eat, you know, Fruit Loops or whatever. And I just always thought that was so weird that people I mean, can a mom be too protective of the kids? I don't know. It's just how I was, and I wasn't willing to change it. But we loved the like farm life and everything. So now with them grown and me feeling better, I always wondered what I'd be like as an empty nester, because, you know, I'm not married, and I live on this ranch, and the kids all still live here in this town. So and I see my daughter every day, obviously, but I still have my kids, but they're not at home. So I always wondered what that would be like. And it never once occurred to me that I would start buying farm animals, but that's what I did. It's so weird. A year ago, if someone had told me I was going to buy a milk cow, I would have been like, no way. But for all those years that I didn't feel good, it was work, go home and go to bed. Work, go home and go to bed. So just the thought of having a garden again or animals again, I couldn't have done it. I could not have done it. There's no way. I got through my work day every day. I did all my responsibilities, everything I was supposed to do, and then I got in bed. And that's where I stayed until I had to get back on my responsibilities the next day. So I love how it just like organically, like I start a carnivore diet. I see you drinking raw milk. I'm like, well, I want to try raw milk. So I got it from the dairy, you know, or the place that delivers here.
Yep.
I took it home, and I had not had milk from a cow in over 20 years.
20 years?
At least, because I never gave it to my kids. We never had it in the house. I know.
20 years?
We had almond milk.
I didn't know you hadn't had it that long. Shit.
No, it
okay.
had been 20 years.
Wow.
So I get home with this half gallon.
Were you just like,
milk.
oh my God.
I'm like, this is going to suck. This is
no.
nasty. What am I doing? This is going to be so nasty. And I wish I had this on video.
Yeah.
But I poured myself a glass, and I was like, Wendy, first of all, I'm trying to not lose weight because I had lost a lot of weight.
Right.
So
I remember you were really concerned about that with starting the diet. You're like, I can't lose weight. I'm like, you just got to eat.
You just got to eat more. So I was like, milk is a perfect way to, you know, get more calories and stay on carnivore. So I take that first drink of milk, and I'm like, oh my God, this is so good. I felt like I was drinking ice cream. Just, I guess because I hadn't had it. I grew up on it, but I hadn't had it in over 20 years. So I mean, I just couldn't get enough.
How much you drink of the
Well, I went home with a
day?
half gallon that first day, and so that I got home probably 4 or 5 o'clock that afternoon, and by the time I left for work the next day around 10 o'clock, it was gone. I drank a half gallon of milk and loved it.
Like
Oh
you've
my
been
gosh.
missing it your whole life. Huh?
Yeah. So that led to me buying a milk cow. Bizarre, but it just kind of, I don't know. And now that I have her, Clarabelle, and I spend time with her, twice a day, I milk her in the morning and the evening. She's like my new little BFF, and I love it. Like, my time in the barn with the animals is my favorite time of the day. It's very healing. That's another thing about chronic illness and just illness in general, is learning that I have Lyme. There's a lot of things you have to address. It's not, I mean, it is the illness, obviously, but you start, when you get on a health journey, you start to learn about, we all know about gratitude and how we're supposed to make a list of things we know all those things, meditation, prayer, whatever it is for the person. But I learned that if you don't deal with past trauma, that can cause disease or keep you from getting better from disease. So, there's all these different, well, even if you just look at the definition of wellness, there's like 9 dimensions of wellness, and you're not truly practicing wellness unless you're doing all those. So it's like social, emotional, physical, there's all these different things. And so that's something I've had to think about and work on, because I've got past trauma, of course, we all do. But I don't deal with that stuff. I don't talk about it. I don't. It just, I'm fine. I'm fine.
Yeah,
I'm fine.
put it down,
I've
put it
never
down,
gone to
put it down,
counseling.
put it
Like,
down.
I'm not that kind of girl.
Right. Just bury it.
I'm fine. I'm fine. And so with this illness, it has taught me, because if that's keeping me sick, then it's just like changing nutrition or exercising or cold plunging or anything else. It's a decision you have to make. Like, if this could be affecting my health, then I need to address it.
Even if it's an if,
Yeah, and
Even
the
if it's an
fact that
if.
the kids are grown now and I can really focus on this and focus on me a little bit now, I want to address all. So those are some other things I've done. I've had some hard conversations with people, and am dealing with past trauma in hopes that will help me get to a new place too.
Well, it sounds like you wouldn't be able to be doing all that with the animals if you still had headaches. Mm-hmm. I mean, like you kind of said, like, I did this, the headaches went away, then I started getting into this, then I wanted to get animals. I mean, like a pretty logical sequence of events.
Yeah.
But that I don't see you having the capacity or feeling like you have the ability to do it if you were still getting run down by the headaches every day.
There's no way. I would say, like, a year ago, let's see, we're in October. Yeah, a year ago, I was go home and go to bed. Some days, like, I would leave here and just get home. I have a little Yorkie, so I had to make sure she went out and peed and fed her and did all that, and then it was just straight to bed. So if it was 5 o'clock, I was going to bed. If it was 8 o'clock, I was going to bed.
Wow.
I can remember I wanted to do a book club with some of my friends here, so I agreed to do this book club. Well, it's on Monday nights at 6 o'clock, which I thought I'll just go, straight from work.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it.
Wow.
I couldn't do it. I was a book club dropout because I had to go home and get in bed. I think my brain, and it makes sense now that I know, but my brain would just get to a place where it was done.
Wow.
I was going to lay down.
Wow.
Right then.
Well, I know, detoxifying the household is a big part of what you did, and like a big part of now what you offer with people online. Mm-hmm. And people here too, obviously, but like the people that you reach remotely, and when someone reaches out like Wendy, how do I clean up my house? How do I use less toxic chemicals for cleaning products, for detergent, dish detergent, hand soap? What got you into all that? Was it through homesteading, homeschooling, like combination of those things? And then like how do you now integrate that into a model to where you can distribute that to people?
So that goes back a long time too, because I always thought it would be Alzheimer's that I had to worry about, because that's what all the females in my family get. Mm-hmm. And so things like deodorant, I stopped doing that. Things with aluminum, things that I knew were toxic, I stopped doing that years ago. But it was in 2022, I had just the out of the blue kidney failure. My left kidney stopped working, acute renal failure. Mm. And I spent 5 days in the hospital. I came back to the gym, and a very smart, sweet, wonderful, amazing woman who I had never met, but she was friends with one of my clients. My client had told her I was in the hospital. we actually were in this room, and she came through the door, and she's like in her 70s, and she said, "Can you talk to me right now?" And I said, "Yes, ma'am." And we sat right here, crisscross applesauce on this floor, and she had a box with a packet and stuff, and she said, "You have to get toxins out of your life to save your kidney." I said, "Tell me what to do. There's nothing I won't do."
And this was when?
This was in 2022.
Okay.
And she is actually the creator and inventor of Branch Basics, which is and she lives here in Kerrville.
Wow.
And she just brought me like a care package of Branch Basics, and then she has a program where she just taught me how you start with your garage, because that's usually where the pesticides and all that stuff, which I didn't use a lot of that to begin with. My gardens have been completely organic, but then it's now you move to your kitchen, then you move to your bathroom, and you just start removing everything. So it's not removing it that's the problem, but where I come in helping people is what you replace it with.
Got it.
Branch Basics for sure is one of them, but when you decide that you're going to quit using fluoride and you're not going to do regular toothpaste anymore, what do you use? If you go online and Google all natural toothpaste, you get 5,000 different things.
Sure.
So that's where I can really help. Is like, hey, I've tried those 5,000 things, and this is the one I like. Or getting your nails done, that's toxic, girls. That is toxic. When you walk
just walking in that smell.
It takes 2 seconds.
That smell makes me go.
Yes.
Like,
I love it when I see influencers talking about being toxin free on like Instagram, and they're sitting there with their nails done and their lashes. Those lashes are glued on, and they're claiming to be toxin free, or they teach toxin free. But I can tell someone anything they need to know. I mean, there's nail polish remover. I know what brand to buy, makeup, lotions, toilet paper, tampons, pads, all the stuff that we use is toxic. It's all toxic, and it's hormone disruptors, it's endocrine disruptors. It's why we have so many women that cannot have children anymore.
So what are some of the common things that people say, I'm just off the street. What do I do, Wendy? What's my first go-to list of, like, give me the bullets of, like, what's the best place for me to start? I know you said a garage, but like, what's the short list so I can?
I always just start with skin. Well, the thing, average American woman puts 27 different products on her skin in a day.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's just on women's faces.
Sure.
So, and it's such a easy. I use tallow on my face and have for years, and castor oil. There's so many things that are natural and are easy and are cheap and so much better for us, so much better. But laundry detergent, that's huge, because our clothes touch our skin too. So anything that touches our skin. But then once you get all that under control, then it's what are you breathing? And just when you think you've got all the toxins out, like for me, something always pops back. Like, I want to get my car detailed. Well, I can't do that. I don't want to breathe all that. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. And I think it's really in the limelight right now with like Robert Kennedy and Casey Mead and people that are so smart doing podcasts and talking about it. And it's hard to do, but it's doable. It's doable. But I had to have a coach. I needed to learn how to do it. And so now that I know what I've replaced everything in my life with, I can be pretty helpful to somebody who wants to make that change.
So tell us about like that program and service offering that you do now with people in person and online. Like, what does that look like? What does it encompass, etc.?
But kind of like encompasses everything, because it's fitness, nutrition, health, wellness, mindset, the way we think, and then also just the toxins and chemicals and the environment that we live in and how to address that. So to me, it seems like the total package of wellness. Because like I said, we're not practicing wellness unless we're doing all of those things. Yeah. So there's the people, and for years, back in the step aerobic days, I thought it was all about fitness. And as long as I'm exercising and getting my heart rate up, then I'll be fine. I'll be healthy. Yep. Then we started to learn, well, nutrition has a lot to do with it.
Just a little bit, yeah.
But now, just because of our environment, the environment has a lot to do with it. And I could go down a million different conspiracy theory, anti-government, Well, Lyme disease was created by our government as a bioweapon. Proven. That's not a Wendy. That is proven. So I can sometimes get down those conspiracy theory holes, but the truth is everything in our environment is toxic, and we have to take it upon ourselves to get it out, to get rid of it, and it is possible. Just like changing to a carnivore diet is possible, getting rid of all the toxins and chemicals is possible. And life-changing, very life-changing.
Heck yes, life-changing. So what's on the horizon for you then before we let you get out of here, because I know you're busy?
Yeah,
what's upcoming?
I'm just going to stay on my journey to remission. That will happen for me soon, I think. And I really want to help people with not just the exercise component anymore. I want to be the coach that addresses everything. Here in the gym, I deal mostly with injured people and sick people, and I love it. I just love it. Like, the harder the case, the better. Like, I love it. But I want to reach outside of the community. I want to do more online coaching and get to people that I don't have access to here and offer them the total package.
Right on. Well, hell yeah. Thank you for taking the time today. It's good to see you with energy and optimism.
I'm not faking it today.
Yeah.
I actually feel really
And you're not going to pass out somewhere in the corner, you know, like you're able to drive home.
And I'm not going to go home and go to bed. I'm going to go home and milk my cow.
You know, like, I'd say it's miraculous, but it's not. It's just the logical sequence of the right events taking place to result in the way you feel and what you're able to do now. But it's awesome to see. So I'm proud of you, and I just thank you for the time today and sitting here and spending it with us.
Thank you. You've been a huge part of my journey. Thank you. I appreciate you very much.
It's a good seat to be able to watch and be a spectator of. And for everybody else, y'all, thank y'all for tuning into another episode of Sick, Scared, and Stupid. I'll have all of Wendy's contact information in the show notes, where you can come and find her here locally in Kerrville, to come and actually pass by the Phoenix Wellness Center and take and enjoy all of the modalities that are here, as well as how to contact Wendy online and sign up for her coaching programs, whether it be through your fitness, nutrition, your homesteading, homeschooling, or detoxification of your house and family. It'll all be there for you in the show notes. So for another episode of Sick, Scared, and Stupid, I'm your host, Jake Thomas. We'll see you next time.